Hey guys, today is Sunday, September the 11th of 2022. I wanted to do my normal video I do, which I call market recap. And there's been an instrument I've been forgetting to add just because I don't have it in my other platforms. It's the Nifty 50 for all my friends and family out there in India. So I wanted to go ahead and give them a little love over here in this analysis, and then we'll jump into our simple glance chart and look at the markets I have been following. So looking at the Nifty 50, one thing you would like to do, just showing you some things I do when I look at a chart, I like to just look at the closes. So it's not even candles or, patterns. It's just looking at where the closes are. And you can see that just using the closes, that could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're working on a wave 5, and it looks like it wants to go into the supply zone. This is where it's going to get challenging. It'll get easier once we get to close above that high, which is 1861.6. But it's in projection to go there, and it's going to have a tough time in this area. One thing also you want to look at is like this high right here, this price action above it, and it looks like it is. This is the close we had, and you can see that price action is a little above it, just by a hair, so it's good, strong. Then the next thing you want to do is put a Hekanashi. You can see that over here it got a little weak, but it's still strong. We closed this week pretty much up there. And then lastly, you just probably want to put a regular candle so you can see the peaks. You see that it kissed the supply zone right there. Put a trend line just to see if the trend is still up and it's not falling behind it. You got a buy signal. This is a weekly chart. You can see the momentum is kind of slowing down a little bit. The last 3 weeks, it kissed the supply zone, pulled back, and now it's retesting it. So it'll be interesting to see how we close this week coming up. What I don't like is that the weekly cycles are pointing down, so that's not good. I've always said that, and you guys know my style. It's more being more cautious. Not that it's just going to crash, but that you just have to be a little more cautious now because the weekly cycles now are against you. However, you still have a buy signal, and you got this trend line that you can see that it's been respecting it. And here it blew right through it, went below it, and now closed above it. So that's a sign of strength. From what I can remember, I believe October is a daily cycle high. So that would be next month. So you just got to be cautious. Once we hit October, the cycle in October, I believe, hits a peak. I got so many things in my head. It's hard to decipher or maybe get things confused. But if you look at my last video, it's either September, October. For some reason, I don't know why I'm thinking October. So just be cautious, or maybe it's this month. Where it could just probably push high here and maybe stall and maybe go lower. We don't know yet because it hasn't done that yet. It remains to be seen. Let's look at the daily real quick and just see what's there. So the daily, see if we normalize this a little bit. So we had a sell signal on August 29th, and now it's tested that and kind of pulled back a little bit. And the MACD crossover right here. So a couple of things here to digest. Is it a fail new high from right here? We're gonna see how this week is gonna close, but just keep that in mind and have this trend line. And, raise your stops. maybe put it under here, do risk management. Don't give it all back. Look at this big, massive run up. Can I continue going high? Yeah. But, play defensive now. Keep raising your stops. And if you get stopped out, it's fine. I got stopped out of Cameco and I ain't crying, and Cameco went straight up without me. So that's fine. You just don't want to give anything back. So those are my thoughts on Nifty 50. Just watch this week to see if we could push up forward and grind higher and maybe retest that high. Because, markets like to retest it. The only thing is that if tried to retest it in the past, then it kind of failed. So maybe this time it wants to, do it legit. And you can see that the MACD may be crossing over. So this is a good week to analyze this chart and tighten stops and just see what happens. Okay, so this is my simple glance chart. This is the chart when I have friends or relatives that text me or call me. He's like, hey man, what do you think of the stock? Without doing any of the Gann cycles and all that stuff, I just kind of just want to take a glance and just see what I see, and just gives me a quick observation of what the chart looks like with my favorite indicators using the weekly and the daily. So that's why I call it simple glance. It might throw off some when they see geometry stuff on my market recap, is because I like geometry and all that. I just thought it was interesting and cool. But this is more just to kind of give you a tops down, quick analysis of what's happening, within the daily and the weekly. When it comes to cycles and Gann techniques and all that stuff, that's a little more in depth. Now I don't have time to go through all of that through the, the watch list I have in depth. So that's why I do updates, here and there. I do monthly updates and it's more in depth there. But when it comes to this is just a little quick recap of, what's been going on. So let's get into it. So the dollar, I have a target of 113. We're getting close. We just hit the trend line. So that's good. This is just a little recap, not a recap, but more of a big glance of that trend line. And you can see that we just kissed it and a lot of selling came in, which is typical. Once you hit a trend line, a lot of people think that's the top. And they just sell and put a stop somewhere above. And that's what you saw last week. And could this be the high? Yeah, it could be the high. I have to look into it more in detail, but good selling pressure. Will it retest it? It could also. So I just wanted to show you why that selling pressure build up. But everything looks good. Weekly still looks good. All above the moving averages. Just because we hit that trend line right there, that's why it kind of got weak. You can see right here. And we got a PPS sell signal, and we got a MACD crossover. So that's that on that. I figure I go to the euro, since it's the opposite of the dollar. And the same thing here. Could it push lower? Yeah, it could push it lower, maybe to 96. That's another target. As you can see, everything is negative. And on the daily, you see that we were hovering around value area low of 98. And just got a PPS buy signal Friday. So let's see how that plays out this week. I guess I go to Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, let's see, is looking like a fail new low. Interesting pattern. So it went up, it came down, and it's still holding this 1851. Volume last week was pretty good compared to the last other weeks, but it's still negative, still red. It's trying to hold that 200 SMA, which was right here. Was trying to close above it, but failed. But then we have a fail new low, or that's what it looks like. But it was very close. So I like to see, and then now in the daily, you see how the MACD going back and forth chopping, and Friday's volume was pretty good, as you can see right here, compared to the other days. And big buyers came in, And you kind of have a Tom DeMark knife candle here. And the next day you have this big spike up with a PPS buy signal. It'll be interesting to see how we close next week, but it's the same thing as inverse with the dollar. Let's go to crude real quick. You can see that now crude is below the cloud on the daily, below the cloud on the weekly. This is going to be a strong level to fight now, which is at kind of like 95 around there. 96. You're below the 50, below the 20. You're going to be maybe kissing this linear regression channel somewhere around 80. And this is going to be a good area if you wanted to scalp to the upside to test this upper level. Or maybe this is a bear trap. And they could just resume up. So we'll see. But no, we kind of have a crossover here, just kind of from August. We got the spike down below the 50, so it's showing some weakness. In the future on the Kumo cloud is starting to look it's about to look negative. But this area right here looks interesting to me if I was to play it to the upside. Look, we also had a Tom DeMark knife candle here, and you can see that it kind of was holding, but then it flushed even lower. So you can see that sometimes these things work and sometimes they don't work. And on the daily, you just hit a pivot S1, and we're just kind of chopping around there below the value area low. We hit already 81, and it's trying to maybe get back to 86 or hold 86, which is that value area low. Let's go to I should have went to Ethereum. Somebody emailed me on YouTube about Ethereum, about a merger and other things. I need to look into it. But this is more of a simple glance look. I have to do more like a in-depth analysis. So believe me, I will do it. I just haven't had the time. But hopefully maybe, before this month is over, I'll get to tackle that. We have a Tom DeMark knife candle here on June the 13th, and they kind of just went sideways, got a buy, and now a sell, and now it's just kind of chopping around here at the value area low between 1605. And the MACD is positive. The last 2 weeks on Ethereum has been positive. Keep in mind, this is going to be a strong level, 29.44. You can see the point of control. And on the daily, what's good is that short term, you're out of the cloud. This is all volatility. This is where it gets a little crazy. And you can see that now you're fighting and holding the 50 and chopping around the 20. Linear regression channels now is pointing sideways. So that's a good thing. And you got a buy signal. MacDaddy crossover is positive. The last couple of days have been positive, not strong, but volume has been pretty good. So it could chop around sideways and go up. I'm gonna have to look at the cycles and all that, like I said. But that's that. Gold. I know that the weekly and daily cycles are down, and this looks kind of like a failed new low. So it'd be interesting to see next week if we push higher and maybe test 1780. This is a strong level. You see that the MACD is positive. Friday's volume is positive, but have to be cautious because the last thing I remember, the weekly and the daily cycles were down. So I would be cautious here. A PPS sell signal, and it's just trying to fight to stay above the 200 SMA on the weekly. On the daily, I already failed it, which is this green one right here. Let's go to HG. And you can see that HG, we're trying to hold the 200 SMA right here, $3.39. Got a sell signal, but it hasn't closed lower. And on the daily, the linear regression channel is not going sideways. So that looks good, but you're still in the cloud, so it's going to get choppy and volatile. And you're trying to hold point of control, which is at 345. And you got a MACD buy signal, and the last Friday and Thursday volume was pretty good. So people are entering here to maybe push another leg higher, but you're going to have to deal with 385. So just be careful here. And also the value area high, which is 371. Natural gas. And for those that didn't know, that was copper. Natural gas, we pierced it, the high, and then closed, got a PPS sell signal. In the MACD crossover right here, the last 2 weeks have been negative in regards to volume. And the daily, you're holding right here this linear regression channel, very low, and the point of control, which is at 788. You got the 50, you got the 100 SMA linear regression channel area right here, and you got the Kumo cloud, which is at 753 and 767 as support. It looks like the MACD is about to cross over, and you got Thursday and Friday volume pretty good. Something's going on here with my platform. It's kind of having a tough time catching up. Silver, same thing as gold. It pierced the low. And the last Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday volume was pretty strong. PPS buy signal. Point of control is 19. So that's going to be an area to watch. And you got the 20 and the 50 above. The linear regression channel is pointing up. On the weekly, this could be their trap, but I have to look at other things. Below the 200, and you got to cross over now. And last week's volume looks like it was positive, but there's going to be very challenging to go up there. But if the bulls are going to show up, they have to show up here. I have to look at the cycles on the daily and on the weekly. AppHarvest, man, this one has just been challenging. This is the one that hasn't been working at all for me. This is probably my worst one I have. I'm still long from 697 and 607. And you can see that 7 has been hard to close above. And you can see that then we made another swing high and failed there. And we got this trend line. And it's just been not good. Hasn't been not good. I have to look at the cycles. I have to do an update for September. And the daily, I mean, it's just negative. We went below this trend line, and we're kind of finding support here. Friday's volume was the only thing positive out of a couple of days or weeks over here. That hasn't been a good trade. But someone asked me on Twitter, what's my thoughts on AppHarvest, and my play is the food shortage that's coming, or it's already here. We just haven't really seen it in the U.S. as maybe as other countries, but this is my hedge, owning, being diversified and owning a company that has nothing to do with uranium, has nothing to do with gold, has nothing to do with anything else but food. And that's why I bought it, and that's why I believe in it. Are there better companies out there? Probably, yeah. I just figure AppHarvest is in Kentucky, my neighbor state, which I'm in Nashville. So I figured, since I own some shares, if I get hungry, I could probably swing by over there and grab some tomatoes and stuff like that. It's a joke. But anyway, that's why I own it. And it's not looking good, but it's just kind of chopping around. If we get a bigger view here, this is where I own it up here, and it's just been consolidating sideways, which is good. I like it to consolidate. I don't want it to go any lower. So we could just kind of consolidate and then maybe just start, breaking this trend, close above 7 and continue pushing higher, then it's going to pay off. But right now it's just kind of just grinding sideways with no activity. Let's go CCJ, very popular stock that I like to watch. I've been really on groove with this stock. I don't know why. figure some things out, but don't know it all. So things could switch on you on a dime. But I did a good update on it, my last video. And if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Another thing that's popped out, the Tom D mark indicator, which works and sometimes work. We have a 9th weekly candle here. It's going to be interesting, everything happening next week. There's a lot of clusters lining up, and I want to see how we close next week and also for the month of September. So it's going to be an interesting month. But so far, everything looks good. Volume is pretty strong the last 3 weeks. MACD buy signals, linear regression channel. This is going to be a little resistance, and we're going to test 32.49. And we shall see. It's going to be a fun weekend. Looking forward to this stock's price action. But everything's looking good so far on Cameco. Denson Mining, DNN. I own this one. I still have it on my portfolio. I'm still long. And right now we kissed the 153. Interesting. This is going to be challenging right here. If we could close above 153, then it's going to look even better higher. But everything is looking positive on the weekly, and in the daily, you're out of the cloud, so that's good. You're at 152, so you can see that right here was a strong resistance using the Kumo cloud. And everything looks good, although volume was a little weaker last week compared to 2 weeks ago, but so far everything is looking good. Hive. This is a stock that I got back in, and this one is more of a crypto play. Getting a little exposure to crypto, not buying Bitcoin, per se, but owning something related to it. And you can see on the weekly, we got this buy signal on July, and then we got a sell signal, and we're just kind of chopping around. You can see with the MACD going back and forth. The last 2 weeks, volume has been positive, but all right, not really strong. And you're now kind of trying to stay above the 20 SMA and battling the 200 on the weekly. Midterm, you're, below the cloud, so it's signs of weakness. But, the trend, it looks like it's slowly changing with the color candles, and the mobile band is positive. On the daily, which is short term, linear regression channel is pointing up, so that's good. And we fighting the cloud, not trying to go below it. So value area high is going to be that $5, and we close what, 511, and you got 517, which is going to be some strong level. If we could close above that, then maybe we have a fighting chance to retest that 753. So a typical price action like this, it goes up, it spikes down, it's going to attract bullish, bottom feeders here. And this is always an ideal entry point. When you miss something like this and it pulls back, then people want to get in here and then push it higher. So it starts making higher highs and higher lows. But that's the pattern that I see. Is it going to go up? I don't know. I have to look at the cycles again and Hive and all this other stuff. But so far, you got a buy signal here, and you kind of chopped around the 50. So it looks pretty good. Let's see how next week, we close. Intel. This is the one. I don't know if you guys been following Intel or the semiconductor chips. This is the one that I think for long-term play, 5 years from now, this is going to be a killer stock. Intel right now is like the underdog. He's the most hated stock, and I love most hated stocks. And this one is already pushing 29. I have a target between 26 and 28. So once it goes below 28, I'm going to start accumulating. I mean, I should start buying now. But I'm using some against theory, and it's a technique that it shows that once it gets in that area, it has to fill the technique. And that's why I'm just kind of waiting. And I told my friends about it. Start accumulating. But what's going good for Intel is that the weekly cycles are just bottomed or are now about to point up. So I'm the type of trader that I like to go with the cycles. I don't want to go against the cycles. And that it's been hated, been negative. Whatever's going to happen, that's going to turn this thing now is going to be, going in, with the wind of the cycles going forward up. Positive. I just saw that I think it was this week where they broke ground on Ohio. They're building this massive facility to build chips. You can look it up on CNBC. It was like, I think it was on the news and all that. It was huge. And I started looking more into it, while I was playing with my kids and all that. They're going to be buying this ASML. I don't know. There's some other chip company that makes this like $300 million unit that makes these high-end HA or whatever. I don't know. You have to look at it. I might put a link on the show notes here where you can look at it. Crazy stuff. And this is the underdog. This is one of the cheapest semiconductors right now, and it's the most hated. And you want to buy when it's hated and when it's cheap and when it's low, because the cycles are just bottoming out. And if not, they've bottomed out. I haven't had a chance to do a video on this thing, but believe me when I say that with all this stuff going on with the semiconductors, the chips, the potential of China invading, Taiwan and, taking control of all those semiconductor chips, and, who knows what could happen into the future. If Intel gets their stuff straight and gets this facility going and buys that big, massive, chip maker or chip builder machine, and things could turn around quickly, or slowly, potentially slowly, and then it starts making higher highs and higher lows, then you're already in. But the cycles are bottoming out this month, this week, or maybe next week. And if I see some capitulation or, the market crashes next week or it sells off even lower, I'm going to start accumulating Intel. But so far, you can see that it's very negative. There's some levels, 26, 63, 75%. On the daily, we hit 29, and looks like on the 10th, one more day with Monday will be the 13th candle. So we'll see. But this is a good stock to keep on your radar if you want exposure to technology, and especially an underdog in regards to chips. SMR, I got two more, and this one was brought to me by a YouTuber that follows me, and I have it there. I don't have no positions on this. I'm just watching it, but you can see the value area high was at 1585. So you got to be careful right here, just because it's chopping going sideways. Volume was negative on Friday. Looks like it is about to have a cross, over on the MACD, but it's above the cloud, so it's good. It's strong. It's the linear regression channels are pointing up or kind of sideways slanted higher. You're above the 200, the 100, the 50, chopping around the 20. Still got that buy signal, but the point of control is at 1397. You're just kind of dancing around there. And on the weekly, you can see that the weekly channel candle, it looks like it's about to turn negative, but hasn't yet. The MACD has a negative signal on the weekly. And the last 3 weeks have been very negative in regards to volume. This last week was pretty good, but not as strong as the sellers. So keep that in mind. And you're up here at the top of the channel. So yeah, it'll be like, I think I covered this on the last market profile. You don't want to be buying here. You want to wait for it to pull back. So anywhere, between 11, 10, or even 12, 21 could be areas that you probably want to buy. So if it gets a flush down, anywhere, even, 11 right here, especially the cloud is giving you already some kind of support. Anywhere between 11, 12, and that would be a nice little area right here to be buying, and then to see the next leg up. UEC, let's see what we got here. UEC, I own also UEC. Amir Nani. You can see that very choppy stock, but is hanging in there. You can see that there's a sell signal, a buy signal on the weekly, and it's just back and forth. You can see the chop here, but the last 3 weeks were very good. You're above the Kumo cloud on the weekly, so it's good. And you got the value area high, which is at 475. Then we're going to have to reckon and have a challenging fight there. Once we close above there, then, you know, it's going to push higher and maybe retest that $6.06 or 60, which is that April. And you're chopping around the 15 to 20, so that's good. But everything looks, you know, positive on the weekly. On the daily, you're above the cloud, so that's good. This was a good level through 82 of support. Point of control is that 420, and the value area high is at 451. And you're closed at 444. So this is where the fight is, trying to close above the value area high. But you got the MACD crossover, which is positive. Last Friday, this Friday that just passed, volume was strong, and the trend is up. You can see the color, mobile bands are positive, linear regression channels pointing up. On the weekly, it's kind of sideways, slanting higher, so that's good. The candle trends are positive, buy signal, so it's good. Even though this got a little negative for the future, but looks like it could probably cross over and go higher. And the last one, which I don't know what happened, but I kind of erased it off my thing, Uranium royalty. I own this one also. This one is positive on the weekly. Very strong volume, which is good. Linear regression channels are pointing down, but you know, that's because it's been in a downtrend. Below the cloud, midterm. Daily, you're above the cloud, so that's good. Showing some sign of strength, short term. And linear regression channel pointing up. And you got a buy signal and a buy signal on the MACD, but volume on Friday was pretty low. Don't like that. But so far, everything is good. Buy signals. What's going to be resistance? Let's see. These levels right here. 350 and even at 360, 70 around there going to be interesting. But so far, everything, it looks good on the daily. Also, the 200 SMA is going to be a battle. Once we kiss that, algos like to go short if you don't close above it or put pressure on it when you kiss moving averages. So that's one, you know, we're probably going to head towards. Did we hit that high? Yeah. We probably already even kissed it or very close to it. And I think that's it. Hopefully you like this video. It's going to be an interesting week coming up. So buckle your seatbelts. It could get wild. But hopefully you have a great weekend. And I'll keep you posted on my thoughts on the markets I follow using the simple glance chart.